Let's bring in now News Nation's chief Washington anchor, Leland Vittert, host of On Balance. Hey, Leland.
Good to see you, Brooke.
So this whistleblower is a big part of a Republican-led corruption investigation into President Joe Biden. This new development, you'd have to imagine, impacts that pretty significantly.
Well, it does in the sense that now Democrats can say this whistleblower has committed all of these crimes, so therefore his veracity in what he's saying about the Biden should be irrelevant. And Republicans will say, hey, the fact that he has been indicted is just a way for the Justice Department to silence and shame this person who was going to expose the corruption of the Biden administration and of President Biden himself. So in that sense, it doesn't exactly change much, except it just amplifies the partisan noise and the partisan talking points on both sides of the Biden corruption investigation. What it doesn't do is get us any closer to the there that Republicans have been promising for so long, of the link between Hunter Biden's very questionable and shady business dealings and behavior by either then Vice President Joe Biden or of Joe Biden in the years from when he was vice president to when he became president.
Yeah, because without this whistleblower, can you even get to that there that you were mentioning?
That's the point. We don't really know. Republicans think the whistleblower can connect the dots. The question would be, what evidence does the whistleblower have? What evidence does this professor have? And that really probably goes much more to the crux of this issue, because if you follow out the way Republicans would argue this, they will say, oh, well, the DOJ indicted him in order to discredit him. And then Democrats will say, well, you can't believe anything he says because the DOJ indicted him. Now, whether or not you believe and which version of those events you believe depends an awful lot on which side of the political aisle you come from. So the big question is, where's the evidence? And if this professor has any kind of evidence, there's a lot of people in Washington who would love to see it. But so far, at least, he hasn't provided any of it to anyone who has disseminated it. Now, has he provided it to the FBI? That remains a bigger question. But so far, we don't have any proof of that.
And now he's being accused of being an agent for China. Explain to us the severity of these charges.
Very significant, and very significant in terms of what he's accused of doing, which is acting as an unregistered agent for China, lying about arms deals with Iran and the like. So the unregistered foreign agent thing, FARA is what it's referred to, has been used for a long time by the U.S. government against people who are operating and sort of influence peddling in Washington for foreign governments, but not registering for them. The issues about arms deals and others, that's different and more serious. At some point, there's this issue that when you deal with these types of matters overseas, whether it be arms deals or dealing with the Chinese and lobbying and on, it tends to get messy and, shall we say, a little unsavory. I think we've seen that as it relates to Hunter Biden and some of his business dealings as well. And the lines here, and I think this is what's going to be really important to look at in terms of what evidence the DOJ has, the lines often get very blurred. And Republicans are right to point out that oftentimes, and we don't know yet whether this is true for this case, that it really comes down to prosecutorial discretion, whether or not you charge these crimes criminally and how aggressively prosecutors pursue them. And there's going to be a lot of scrutiny as to whether these allegations were pursued for political reasons or because the professor's actions were sort of so egregious and so harmful to national security that the DOJ didn't have a choice.
Absolutely. Yeah, a lot to break down here. Leland Vittert, always appreciate your perspective. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. Go to NewsNationNow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.